All right, guys, so we're back to our regular filming spot. We have the Pacific coast of Costa Rica behind me right there, as always, looking beautiful this Monday morning. And today we're talking about the power of the mind. We're continuing our conversation last week, right? So one of the main things that you want to focus on is the rewiring of your previous programming, right? So you're used to doing about your things, your day-to-day tasks a certain way, and you're used to reacting based on what's going on in your external circumstances, right? So with the approach that I'm trying to introduce to you guys is changing the internal first, and then the external will reflect it. So I like to use examples for you guys to kind of understand me, right? So I'm going to use a very simple example, right? So let's say you have a child and you're trying to convince your child to pick up his room, right? So if you were to take a regular approach at it, right, you'd be looking for ways to punish him if he doesn't clean his room, or you'd be looking for ways to just get him to clean his room, okay, obviously. But when you take an approach, like I said, of working on yourself and creating the internal reality for the external to reflect it, what you could then do is take a completely different approach, right? So instead of looking on your specific child and how to change him, you would learn more about, let's say, psychology, or the psychology of persuasion, right? So you are changing your internal self, right? And then you will learn that humans react based off of incentives. So if you're trying to punish your child and if they don't clean the room, what they're going to do is look for ways to avoid the punishment but not actually do what it is that you want them to do. So for you to get them to do what you for you to get them to do what you want them to do, and it applies for every type of persuasion there is, right? You want to provide incentives. So you'd say, hey, clean your room and you'll get a prize, or you'll get like a cookie, or you'll get dessert, or you'll get to go to this thing this weekend, right? You give them a prize, you give them an incentive. So they say, okay, cool, I'm now going to clean my room to get this, okay? But the point of me saying that is so that you see that you were able to fix something or get something in your external life, right? Like you wanted your child to clean the room, okay, cool. But instead of looking in the external for the answer, you kind of worked on your internal self, and then that external reflected that work that you did on yourself, right? And that work was learning about psychology, right? So that same gist applies to, like I said, every aspect of life, right? And the rewiring process is getting used to the fact that you don't want to react to the external circumstances, but realize that your external circumstances are a reaction of your internal circumstances, right? So let me use an example. So the other day, all right, so let's say you get a blessing, right? Call it a blessing. So what I mean by a blessing is, let's say you're used to spending a certain amount of money on car insurance every month, right? And then out of nowhere, well, something like this happened recently in my life, so this is the example I'm choosing to use. But let's say you go to a car show, right? And at the car show, you come into a little booth and they're selling car insurance. And you just end up talking to them and you give them all your information about the car and everything cool. And they say, oh yeah, it's going to be this much per month. And it's like 30% less than what you're used to paying, okay? Your previous programming is going to make you tend to want to question it. You'd look for reasons for that to not be true. You'd be like, oh, but how can that be? What's wrong? What's it missing? You know what I'm saying? When in reality, you just got a blessing. You were just given the same thing. You're able to save a lot of money, right? So in essence, I look at it as like a blessing, right? So instead of sitting there and questioning the blessing that you got, you just are grateful for it, and you expect it to be exactly what you want it to be. And the majority of the time, things will work out in your favor, okay? So by utilizing the power of the mind, by believing that it's going to be the best outcome for you, you are swaying the probabilities in that direction. It's not always going to work out perfectly, and when it doesn't work out, you need to accept that that's exactly what needed to happen in order for you to get to where you're going in life, right? So there's ups and downs along the journey of life. Those little downs, you don't let the downs continue to bring you down. They simply rebound you up, right? So What I'm trying to say is that when you see little things that didn't work out, cool. Just know and accept that they just weren't supposed to work out that way for you. Awesome, cool. And if you start to have a more positive outlook on things that you're not certain of, you will tend to sway outcomes in your favor. Again, by simply programming yourself to believe that the better outcomes in life will happen, okay? A lot of you guys already understand these concepts, but it's important to continue to really, cement these things in your mind, cement these ideas in your mind, right? Obviously, you know about, positivity. All right, yeah, sure, be a positive person. Okay, cool. And more positivity is going to come your way. Awesome. But there's a bit, things get deeper with that, right? And what I mean by things getting deeper is you change the programming of your mind, and your external circumstances will reflect that, right? So the rewiring process is what needs to happen. That's like kind of like, it's a huge focus, okay? So how do you do that rewiring process? Turn the phone off, turn the TV off, close your eyes, sit down, and think about your previous ways of reacting to circumstances, right? So if XYZ were to happen, how would you react to that? Okay, cool. Is that the reaction that you want to continue to perpetuate in your reality? So the way that you react to certain things will perpetuate. So if you constantly react negatively to things in life, you will cause for more negative situations to happen, right? And an example is like, okay, so something like bad happened in your life, right? There's not really good or bad, but let's say something bad happened in your life, right? So someone like me, I look for the lessons and I turn it into a absolute positive, right? Like I don't look at it as a bad thing that happened. I just look at it as a part of life, right? A part of the journey that we're on. Cool. So where's the lesson in what just happened? Awesome. Great. I learned a huge lesson from this experience. When the person next to me would be like, man, I can't believe that happened to you. I'm so sorry for you. And I'm like, nah, man, it's awesome. It's cool. I got a huge lesson from that. Now I'm able to become the person that I am today because of that experience. Okay. So it's about your perspective. It's about seeing it as a positive. So then by doing that, you will create more circumstances in your life that end up being positive, that end up being best in your favor. Okay. It's just how shit works, right? And like I said, you need to do that rewiring process. So be aware of how you respond to certain scenarios and try and flip them around. Again, these are just my opinions. You guys can choose to apply what you resonate with, and these are concepts that have worked for me and worked for a lot of people close to me. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing. All right, so please drop a like on the video, comment down below, subscribe with your post notifications turned on. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.